Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to talk about a marketing psychology advice that made me millions for our clients and for myself personally. So in this video, we're going to talk about the current market situation first and basically what this means for you in terms of how you need to do marketing, how you need to do your ads, funnels, copywriting, offers, and everything. I have a lot of case studies in this video that I'm going to present to you because again, we've built hundreds of pages, built hundreds of offers, and ran thousands of A/B tests over the years. So I'm just going to walk you through that in this video. And again, this is basically condensed all of my knowledge from the past couple of years. So let's get right into it. Now, if we look at the current market situation, most people just get toxic news all of the time, right? So every single day, people get crazy toxic news, right? So your target audience is exposed to bad news all of the time, right? So this generates a lot of attention, but it also is a new shiny object every single day, basically. The second thing is ad inflation, right? So you are going to pay more per click, per customer every single year, right? So for all of the industries, we just see a rising trend over the past couple of years, and your ad costs are going to keep rising every single year on every platform in every niche. And then the last thing is we are literally in the toughest market ever. So if we look at the market situation, and there's a lot of studies around this, right? The most important one and the one that I like to check the most is the consumer sentiment index, because the consumer sentiment index basically means how open are people to spending their money, right? So if the consumer sentiment index is high, everyone is happy, everyone is spending a lot of money. If it's low, people don't want to spend their money and they are super anxious, right? So what you can see here, if I look into this chart, the consumer sentiment index is the lowest it's ever been in decades, right? So we are here in the end of 2025, and you can see the current level is around 55. There have been some phases in history, for example, with the big recessions and the big bubbles, as you can see here around 2008, 2002, right? And then also here in the 1980s. So it's crazy. Like it's the lowest it's ever been. So this means for you that people essentially are super skeptic and don't really want to spend their money. The second thing I like to look at is the inflation rate, right? Because if we have these two graphs, right, this is the general consumer sentiment index, but then we have the second graph, which is the inflation. So inflation was way higher back then around 1980s when we had the lowest consumer sentiment index ever that we have today too. The inflation was way higher, right? Meaning people had less buying power than today. So today, if the consumer sentiment index is the same, meaning the feeling is the same, this is even worse because today people have more buying power like back then, but they have way less trust and are way more skeptic. So what does all of this mean for you, and why are there some brands that scale faster and more efficiently than ever before in these tough market conditions, right? We have a lot of outliers, and especially our partner brands who are crushing it more than ever before. People that are hitting $1 million months, 15 million per year milestones all of the time. And they are essentially facing the same challenges as everyone else, right? I mean, if you want to see more client results, you can just go to my Instagram and go to my client wins highlights. I share a lot of source there, so check it out. But essentially, what we do with all of our client brands and what I want to teach you in this video is we really focus on marketing psychology, right? So we don't want to work on the symptoms of people have less trust, yada, yada, yada. We want to really solve it foundationally. So if you want to succeed sustainably and stay successful, you need to look beyond the initial hype, hacks, and tricks, right? What worked a year ago, 2 years ago, even half a year ago, will not always work in the future, no matter the algorithm or political situation. Because the most important thing is, and that's also the baseline of this video, you are selling to people, so you're selling to real humans. And how humans make buying decisions, and generally how humans make decisions, has essentially stayed the same since the past thousands of years, right? And as you can see, and I also got this from Google, modern humans have existed for around 300,000 years, but evidence suggests their brain's internal organization structure, which account for modern cognitive capacity, evolved more recently. Scientists believe that the brain's modern shape began to emerge sometime between the last 100,000 and 35,000 years ago. Meaning this thing up here didn't really change, right? So if we look at the psychology and also the whole idea of how do people make decisions, and the neuroscience of decision making, here's what we find. We have the prefrontal context, which is how we think we make decisions, right? Because this is the rational thinking. We're like, do I need this product? Do I really need this? Yada, 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 right? Where we think about it. But actually what happens is that our subconscious mind, so the reptilian complex and also the limbic system, which are these two, form an emotional decision, which you're not even aware of, and then your rational thinking, your prefrontal context sets in and then rationalizes that decision after you already made it. And then you think yourself, yeah, this was a logical decision, but it was an emotional decision, right? So most of our decisions are unconscious. They're quick, automatic, and emotion driven. We essentially have two different systems, right? We have one that is fast, intuitive, and emotional, and the second one, which is slow, conscious, and effortful. So this is just to give you some context of why like 99% of our decision making is intuitive and emotional. Because these two systems, the first system is relying on your emotions, on your subconscious, and it's super quick and it's low effort, right? And that's why our body and our brain likes to stay in this system number one, because it doesn't take too much energy. And system number two, with your logical thinking, it's super slow, it's super effortful, and that's why your brain and your body doesn't want to do it, because it wants to preserve energy. Meaning 99% of the time, people just make decisions emotionally or intuitive, and maybe 1% of the time people really think about it. So thousands of years ago, you had a huge survival advantage when you didn't have to waste a lot of energy and time thinking about decisions, right? Which is why all of our decision making is subconscious and emotional. And in order to survive, you have to make the right automatic decisions, and that's how humans developed heuristics and biases, right? Meaning, if you can understand all of this programming in the mind and how to bypass the decision-making programming of your target audience, then you can sell better to them, right? So essentially, you can leverage human psychology to make millions of dollars and become filthy rich in e-commerce, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So first things first, the one big learning that I want to share with you is people buy perceived value, right? So a lot of people say, okay, your offer is everything, and that's not 100% of the truth. The narrative of your offer is everything, right? So this is the actual truth. So you can really sell the same product for 4 times the price and make the customer even feel better about buying your product, right? You see this a lot with luxury items. So for example, with wine, with cigars, with alcohol in general, with clothing. There's a lot of stuff where just the price tag itself, just the higher price tag attaches a higher perceived value to it, right? So how can you apply this to a direct-to-consumer brand? Let me just show you a concrete case study from Coconut Beauty, right? So one of their products is the Curly Method, right? Which is a bundle of 2 products that they're selling for 51 euros, right? So this is their product. Now, most brand owners would look at this and be like, okay, well, this is my product that I sell. I sell this for 51. Well, let's make a great offer. Let's give them some form of discount, right? So in order to increase the perceived value, they would just discount this by like 20, 30, 40%, right? So this really kills your margin, right? So let's say you have these 2 products for 51 and then you say, okay, let me just give a discount of 30% and I will sell it as a bundle. Well, if you give a discount of 30%, then the customer is going to be able to buy this for 35.70, and you would have added 15.30 in added value, right? But then you have to think about your customer acquisition costs and also your COGS. So let's say this offer, these 2 products, to ship them to your customer costs you 20 euros, right? So you sell it for 51 typically, but then you have 20 euro COGS, and now you also give the 50/30 discount, which leaves you with 15 euros 70s as a break-even CPA, and this gives you a break-even ROAS of 3.25x, meaning you effectively just killed your margin. So here's what you want to do instead, right? Essentially, we took the bundle, and instead of just giving a discount, we made the bundle bigger and also created the whole narrative around it to be the main curly hair method, right? So we essentially gave them 2 different bundles. So this is what you can see here. We just took the existing 51 euro offer, and then in the first bundle, we added the serum for 26 euros with a 30% discount, right? Which you can see here, meaning 77 So we discounted it to 54, and then the second bundle is the 51 euro offer with the 26 euro serum, and then we also added the Boombastic hair mask, which is 45, increasing the total value of the offer to 123, and then the discounted value to 73, right? And here we gave an even bigger discount of 40%. Now the perceived value is, in the first case, you get 78 euros of product value for 54 euros because of the discount, meaning we added 24 euros in perceived value. In bundle B, we have 123 value for 74 euros purchase price, meaning we added 49 in perceived value. If we look at the break-even CPA in ROAS, would be 54 euros, minus the 20 euro COGS, minus the 5 euro additionally for the serum, which would lead us to a 29 euro break-even CPA and a 1.86 break-even ROAS. And the second bundle would be 74 euros purchase price, minus the 20 euro COGS, minus 5 euros for the serum, minus 5 euros for the mask, which would leave us at the 44 euro break-even CPA and a 1.68 break-even ROAS. Meaning we increased the perceived value, we added products, and we completely outperformed the break-even ROAS and CPA that we had before, right? Which was 1570 and break-even ROAS of 3.5 at 3.25x, right? The result of this is that we added a lot of revenue and profits for Ignazi from Coconut. He's super happy. I mean, you can also watch the testimonial. He was super, super happy with all of this stuff, and we added 500,000 to their bottom line in the first 2 months of working together. And I also have the complete funnel breakdown. If you want to check it out, you can just click on this and it will take you to the YouTube video. Now, this is the first psychological lever, right? Is the whole offer perception and how to really build a great offer. Now, the next big learning that I had is that people buy when they cross their pain threshold, right? So a lot of you may have heard of loss aversion, right? This is a cognitive bias where people prefer avoiding losses over acquiring equivalent gains, meaning losses have a stronger psychological impact than gains. So if you look at the psychology of selling and buying, right? The art of sales is creating separation between the current state of the prospect and the desired state of the prospect. The current state of the prospect meaning where's the prospect now with all of their pain points, problems, and belief, and their desired state meaning where do they want to be with their goals, desires, and aspirations. And then essentially you place your product as the vehicle that bridges the gap from their current situation into their desired situation. So when you clearly articulate both states, deepen the pain threshold, and position your product as the bridge, people buy, right? So people a lot of times ask me is, how is that people can experience pain and still not change? Well, they have not yet crossed the emotional pain threshold, which is this. Meaning, let's just say this is the pain axis and this is the time axis, and then people have a certain emotional threshold that needs to be crossed in order to them take an action. And this is the line that you achieve with your marketing and your ads and your funnels and your copy, right? And let's say, for example, you have good marketing, which is this, but then you don't hit their threshold and don't push them over the line, then they are just not going to buy, right? So as soon as you cross their emotional threshold, then they have the motivation to act, and that's when the purchase happens. So therefore, your job as a marketer is to exceed their pain threshold. And that's why we built this new direct response framework, which is the new way to build direct response funnels. So you can access the document here. Just click on this. It's a link that's going to break down how to completely build direct response funnels, right? How to do the ads, how to do the copies. You can see this is the complete SOP. So I really, really recommend you watch this SOP. So there's 3 aspects to this. We have timing, priming, and focus. Now timing is super important. So the timing and setup of information matters more than the information itself. So there's a study where charity asks, do you consider yourself a caring person to people, right? Before requesting a donation, gets far more contributions. So let's say the SOP is, you ask somebody, do you consider yourself a caring person? Then they say yes, and then you ask for a donation. That means good timing, good framing, and they are more likely to give a donation. Why? Because the question primes the donor to act consistently with that self-image. So therefore, it's not so much about what you say, but how you sell it to them. So you need to funnel and prime your prospects correctly before trying to sell them. The second thing is priming. So another interesting experience is another study showed that asking people to list ways they've been adventurous made them more likely to try a new energy drink. Why? Because again, if people accept the label of I'm an adventurous person, that gives them a new sense of identity, and then people focus on that, right? And that then changes their behavior, right? So the last thing is focus. This is also a really interesting one. People just judge something as more important simply because they're paying attention to it. So media coverage, for example, makes an issue seem more severe than it actually is. So attention inflates perceived importance. So meaning we overestimate whatever we focus on and remember what actually gets attention right now. So good example are the toxic news. So what does all of this mean for you for the advertorial funnels? Now let me show you a lot of examples that we've built for clients. First one from Boom Booty, which is selling these push-up leggings for women. As you can see, I would just explain the copy a bit to you so you can understand. How to make your man addicted to you again, discover the real reason your relationship isn't working and what you can do about it. You stand in front of the mirror getting ready for bed while your evening thoughts creep in again. The daily attempt to regain your self-confidence when you see your body's problem areas in the mirror. Lately you feel so insecure, no longer as sexy and attractive in your own skin. Slowly you start to feel that your man no longer desires you as you once did, and it breaks your heart. Even your sex life is far from what it used to be. So this is a really great example of a headline and an advertorial that really pulls the reader in, because we really go into their pain points, and we also frame this whole situation of the woman not being self-confident, and then also the emotional impacts it has on her relationship and private life. Next one from KinoBuddy. Revealing the unfair advantage that allows some guys to almost magically attract girls and get chased, loved, and adored by 10 out of 10 women, while you struggle to get a text back, a match on Tinder, let alone get serious dates or a girlfriend. And no, it's not game, looks, hate, money, or any stupid pickup artist technique. This campaign performed insane at scale on a 9.3x ROAS, because this perfectly captured the desired situation of the target audience and also the current pain points that they have. Another one. Facial redness is no longer an obstacle for me. It was one of those days when everything seemed to be going perfectly. I had come to my office ready to take on the world, but then it happened. When I looked in the mirror, I noticed that my cheeks were suddenly covered in an intense blush. I was shocked. I had never had such problems with facial redness before. Here we are selling, obviously, a face cream. So this also crushed. And then the last one. I watched helplessly as my dog's infernal heartburn got worse and worse until this random gift finally made the pain disappear. This is also a crazy one, advertorial that has been crushing. So these are all different advertorials that we use. If you want to get the complete guide on how to really draft advertorials, I recommend you to click on this video. Click on the video. I completely break down the copy of advertorials and how to really write advertorials and how to use them. Also these two that I just shared. So for us, advertorials really are the biggest thing in 2025 and also going into 2026 that we implement with clients, just because it perfectly fits into the current market situation and the consumer sentiment index that we talked about earlier, right? Because they don't have a lot of trust anymore. Consumer sentiment index is super low, so we need to be able to sell to quota and less aware audience is better, and the best way to do that is with advertorials. Now, advertorials, to be honest, are super complicated. So if you want to get help with this, just click on this call to action. It's going to take you to our website, so they can then schedule a call with us, and then we can help you implement advertorials into your business. So the third one, there was also a huge learning, is people buy from people, right? Social proof. A lot of you are familiar with social proof. So if we look at the ancient brain, then social proof was one of the most important things for survival, because let's say you're out 10,000 years ago in the wild and you have to eat certain foods, then if somebody from your tribe ate it, then it's good. Or if people are anxious of mammoths or tigers or whatever, then you have to be anxious too, right? So people are really aware what the people around them think. So this is a great example where people stand in line and then somebody asks, what's this line for? And then the next person says, I don't know. I just saw everyone standing here and figured it must be good. Right? Or if you want to buy something like a t-shirt and then you see everyone else wearing like one part of t-shirt, then this would give you the social proof to purchase this product rather over the other products. Now, a lot of you know social proof and it sounds really simple, not fancy at all, but a lot of times we implement social proof. So I'm just going to walk you through some case studies where it had a crazy impact on conversion rate, just so you get the point, and also how to implement it on the store. Number one, we implemented this section on the homepage of one of our clients where we essentially showed the team behind the brand. So this was crazy. This improved the conversion rate by 5.4%, made them hundreds of thousands of dollars at this scale that they're at, because it really gives a lot of faces to a faceless brand, right? And this is great social proof. Another great one is we added the testimonial stars on the collection page. So this increased the revenue per user by 8.71%. Another one, we added reviews in the menu. This increased the revenue per user by 6.75%. And another one, we added the amount of happy customers in the cart, which increased the revenue per user by 6.88. So I could go on and on. I have hundreds of case studies because social proof is so strong. So if you want to dive deeper into more A/B tests, I recommend you watch this video, because here I share a lot of different A/B tests that have a really great impact on conversion rate. All right, so yeah, we are almost done with the video. These are my 3 most important learnings, just to really concise it. Number 1, people buy perceived value, so you really have to increase the perceived value of your offer in a smart way. Number 2, people buy when they cross their pain threshold, so you as a marketer have to do a great way of understanding your target audience and then also really hitting their emotional threshold so that they get the motivation to act. And then number 3 is social proof. People buy from people, so you really have to show them a lot of your customers, a lot of testimonial success stories and all of that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section down below, if you want to see anything specific, and then I will see you in the next video.